In February 2019, TotalEnergies, the French energy giant, announced a significant oil discovery off the coast of South Africa in the deepwater block 11B/12B in the Orange Basin. This discovery marked South Africa's first major offshore oil find and was a potential game-changer for the country's energy landscape. The exploration well, Brulpadda, encountered light oil and gas, which raised hopes for reducing South Africa's reliance on oil imports and developing its vast offshore hydrocarbon resources. As the discovery garnered global attention, TotalEnergies swiftly positioned itself to explore more within the Orange Basin. Their ambitions were shared by other global energy players. In 2024, QatarEnergy and TotalEnergies collaborated on Block 3B/4B in the same basin, aiming to unlock even more potential. This partnership was seen as crucial for tapping into the basin's rich hydrocarbon resources. However, the discovery was met with resistance from environmental activists and local communities concerned about the ecological impacts of offshore drilling. South Africa's regulatory landscape also posed challenges, delaying further exploration and development. Despite this, TotalEnergies and QatarEnergy remained confident about the potential of South Africa's hydrocarbon reserves. Their optimism reflected a broader trend in the region, as neighboring Namibia also announced similar offshore oil finds. The future of oil exploration in South Africa now hangs in the balance, as environmental concerns clash with the promise of energy independence and economic growth. South Africa, though endowed with significant resources, had long relied on imports to meet its energy needs. This discovery rekindled hopes that the country could reduce its reliance on foreign oil and open the door to further energy security in a rapidly shifting global market. In December 2023, PetroSA entrusted a potential 21.6 billion rand gas infrastructure deal to notorious wheeler dealer Lawrence Mulaudzi. 3 months later, the deal was dead, not by environmental groups or Russian sanctions, but by 34-year-old TTM player Cheslin Chase Jampies. Last year, Jampies asked the Johannesburg High Court to liquidate Chakuma Cha Madzivandila Football Club, TTM, after the club failed to pay his 35,000 rand a month salary. With time and interest, Jampies' claim against the club rose from 70,000 rand to 725,000 rand. TTM, which is owned by Mulaudzi, failed to oppose the case, and on the 7th of March this year, the court ordered that TTM be placed in final liquidation. Records from the National Soccer League, filed in Jampies' case, show that Chakuma Cha Madzivandila Football Club is not the legal entity behind the club. Instead, Mulaudzi registered the club in the name of his investment company, Equator Holdings. This is where PetroSA and the 21.6 billion rand gas deal come in. In January 2023, Equator bid for the 3.7 billion rand contract to refurbish PetroSA's gas-to-liquids refinery in Mossel Bay, RFP 0001-2023. That deal went to Russia's Gazprom Bank Africa, but Equator bid for and won an even bigger contract, RFP 0004-2023, to finance and refurbish PetroSA's offshore gas infrastructure at a potential cost of 21.6 billion rand. A joint venture between Equator and another company, ThesA Oil and Gas, was also appointed to develop PetroSA's offshore gas wells. The two deals meant Mulaudzi was poised to become one of the most significant players in the gas industry, with control over offshore gas wells and the infrastructure to bring the gas onshore. In the original investigation, it was pointed out that Equator had been eliminated from the Gazprom Bank tender, scoring 0 out of 100, because the authenticity of entity could not be established, making the decision to hand it 2 other deals highly suspect. In January this year, Mulaudzi told the media that they are pleased as a company to enter into this partnership with PetroSA, which will provide security of gas supply and unlock infrastructure bottlenecks in the energy space for South African economy. They have every intention to deliver, and that they will. What was not apparent at the time was that PetroSA had just awarded 2 multi-billion rand gas infrastructure deals to a soccer club owner who can't pay his own players. In terms of the gas financing and infrastructure agreement signed with PetroSA in December, Mulaudzi's Equator Holdings would have until the 8th of June 2024 to show that it could secure a funding commitment for the refurbishment project, estimated by PetroSA to require 21.6 billion rand. Unbeknownst to PetroSA, however, Equator Holdings could not even come up with 725,000 rand to pay Jampies. Back in 2020, TTM had bought the Premier League status of Bidvest Wits for a rumored fee of 35 million rand, but 2 years later, the club was struggling. Meanwhile, Mulaudzi, the club's owner and chair, continued to spend lavishly. Former TTM captain Jampies said he remembers how a member of the club's management team walked in one morning, reeking of alcohol, and had the audacity to tell them that the chairman was at a funeral this weekend and spent 200,000 rand on alcohol. In January 2023, just as Mulaudzi was gearing up to bid for PetroSA's multi-billion rand gas deals, Jampies filed a case with the Dispute Resolution Chamber of the National Soccer League, which governs all the leagues in the country. In June 2023, the National Soccer League ordered TTM to pay Jampies his outstanding salary plus damages. The ruling, authored by advocate Fanna Nalane, South Carolina, is damning. Amongst other things, he raised doubts about the authenticity of a mutual separation agreement that TTM produced as evidence. Jampies had previously refused to sign such an agreement and denied that it was his signature on the document. The panel agreed, ruling that TTM had failed to prove the authenticity of the document and instructed the team to pay Jampies 725,000 rand. When TTM failed to pay, Jampies' lawyers asked the National Soccer League for a copy of the club's legal membership form, which showed that the club was registered to Equator Holdings trading as Chakuma Chamadzivandila Football Club. With this in hand, they asked the Johannesburg High Court to liquidate Equator Holdings. Embarrassingly, it appears that PetroSA was in the dark about Equator's liquidation. In terms of the agreement, Equator had 180 days until June this year to deliver satisfactory evidence to PetroSA that it has secured the financing for the refurbishment project. PetroSA informed Mulaudzi that, according to their internal policies, he needed to provide satisfactory proof that the funds were secured and readily available, without any conditions, from a reputable financier, bank, or partner. Despite Equator's liquidation, Mulaudzi appears to have written to PetroSA confirming that Equator had secured 1 billion rand in funding from Black Mountain Investment Management, a little-known asset management company. However, in a letter dated the 19th of June 2024, a copy of which we have seen, PetroSA told Mulaudzi that this was not good enough and noted that the letter appears to be a mere expression of interest to provide funds, which falls short of the evidence required under the agreement. There is no evidence of the financial capacity of Black Mountain from a reputable bank or financier, or a credit-approved/binding term sheet. Although the original tender documents estimated that $1.2 billion would be needed for the refurbishment project, it appears that PetroSA was willing to settle for 1.2 billion rand plus contingencies. Black Mountain's unconfirmed offer of 1 billion rand falls short of the amount required, PetroSA said. PetroSA also raised concerns about the technical partner Equator had secured, Kawija Engineering and Construction, based in Fourways. Until 2016, Kawija operated under the name Kellogg Brown and Root South Africa. Kellogg Brown and Root is a controversial U.S. defense and construction firm. Its employees have been implicated in everything from sexual assault to human trafficking, while the firm has been accused of exposing U.S. soldiers to asbestos-contaminated burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2015, the local division of Kellogg Brown and Root was bought out and the company changed its name to Kawija. In its 19th of June letter, PetroSA asked Equator to provide CVs of the key personnel, as well as evidence of Kawija's track record of project execution in similar environment from 2015, since management buyout, to date. According to PetroSA's letter, Equator signed an agreement with Kawija to execute PetroSA's offshore gas infrastructure project. Despite this, online company records show that Kawija was placed in final liquidation 3 weeks later. In 2022, a significant scandal erupted involving Zweli Mkhize, the former South African Minister of Health. Allegations surfaced that he received a 6 million rand kickback from a 1.4 billion rand investment by the Public Investment Corporation, PIC, funded by the Unemployment Insurance Fund, UIF. Central to this scandal was businessman Lawrence Mulaudzi, who played a key role in facilitating the deal. Through his connections, Mulaudzi allegedly funneled funds to Mkhize, disguising the payment as consulting fees. This misappropriation of UIF money intended for unemployed workers raised serious concerns about corruption within South Africa's political and financial systems. Mkhize's involvement followed his earlier resignation amid the Digital Vibes scandal, further tarnishing his political career. The incident highlighted the urgent need for transparency and accountability in the management of public funds, emphasizing the challenges faced by ordinary citizens reliant on state support. Developing the offshore gas industry is key to Minister Gwede Mantash's plan to make the Eastern Cape the gas capital of the country. The plan is not going well. TotalEnergies has hinted at plans to walk away from its long-held interest in the offshore gas block 11B/12B, and Gazprom Bank is yet to make good on its promise to provide the funding necessary to restart PetroSA's gas-to-liquids refinery. In July 2024, Mantash turned to the well-worn trope of blaming civil society for the gas industry's woes, telling Parliament that it was imperative to challenge the foreign-funded NGOs that oppose every initiative to explore oil and gas, which he said deject investments in this sector.